Hello, beautiful people. Welcome back to the Master Your Mindset podcast. It has been literally a hot minute since I've been here with you on a solo episode. I just love having guests on this podcast so much. I love having conversations with others and in their expertise and with their wisdom and all of the things so much that I kind of forgot that I can do this by myself as well. So I've decided to come on here today and give you a solo podcast because there is something that has been a conversation that has been passing in my circles, whether it be my friends, family, clients, that I really want to bring here. And it's something that I just don't know how I haven't talked about this yet because it's something. Is this creating enough suspense? It's something that I talk about all the freaking time, and that is core values. But first, I really want to give you an update because I think it's been about over a month, honestly, since I've chatted to you, just you and me. So I want to give you a bit of an update because there's been a lot happening in this last month, in this last couple of months, actually. And I can't even remember the last time we had a solo episode. I think I might have been in Bali. I think I might have been in Bali. So in the meantime, over this last month and a half, I've been to Bali, New Zealand, Thailand, and now I'm back in South Africa. So there's been a lot of travel, and it's been a lot of different travel because Bali, as you probably know already, and also if you follow me on Instagram, Bali was definitely a different vibe to what people usually go to Bali for. Bali was for just getting so stuck into our businesses, working located in the middle of nowhere. Like our location for the last 2 weeks was an hour away from any shops and things like that. So we were literally in the middle of nowhere in a really beautiful place, just working so hard on our businesses, which was so much fun. We loved Bali so much to the point where it was like the place where Nate actually got upset about leaving, not upset, but he was like very sad to leave. Whereas usually he's like, he's all good. He's like, yeah, on to the next, cool, we'll come back, that type of thing, even his own home. But yeah, he got upset and he was like, damn, like this is just really sad. So then we moved to New Zealand and we were in New Zealand for 3 weeks. And that was to see my family. Nate hasn't actually been back to New Zealand since January. I was back in New Zealand in April. So it hasn't been that long for me, but that was really beautiful time for me to be with my family, with my friends, and just catch up with everyone. And in the meantime, the Rugby World Cup started. So that was just the perfect place for me to be with the Rugby World Cup starting. And it is ending soon. I don't know if you follow rugby. I've been advised to talk about rugby a lot more, but I'm not sure how everyone else feels. But now I'm in South Africa and the Rugby World Cup is ending and it's a potential final with South Africa and New Zealand. And I'm freaking out. And it's just like, it's going to be a big game when we get there. So backtracking, after New Zealand, we went to Thailand. And Thailand was specifically for a family holiday. It was so beautiful. It was just the best holiday because I actually just did the most minimal amount of work that I needed to do, which usually I'm so happy to just like work because I love my job. I love this whole thing. I love mindset coaching and everything, but there was like 14 of Nate's family members and partners and things there. So it was really cool. And obviously Nate's little niece was there and she's the coolest human ever to just be around and witness and like hang out with, I would say. So that was also a really special time. It was a well-needed break. I just did my client calls and the minimal things that I needed to do, which was so good. I love my client calls as always and all of the things. And then we have now come back to South Africa, where I will be here for another 3 weeks, I think. Then I will be going home to New Zealand for a month and then back to South Africa for a couple months from there because we have some weddings and things on at the end of the year and the start of next year. And I just can't be here for that long. So that is why I will also be going home. So that has kind of been a bit of a rundown of where I have been, I guess. And then like very recently. And So something that just happened yesterday, I was meant to record this podcast episode yesterday, but I just wasn't feeling it. You know what I mean? And I really love talking about core values, but I thought today would be a better day to record. And I actually have a really funny story as to why I wasn't feeling it and what I was doing instead. So if you know me, you know that for a long time I have been studying the menstrual cycle so in depth. It's been like 5 years now. I just haven't been talking about it as much more recently. If you know me as well, you know that I am a die-hard rugby All Blacks fan, right? Like die-hard. I was born and bred with rugby. So I knew that, and I'm sorry if this is TMI, just skip past all of this. Go, skip, skip, skip. So I know that I've been due for my period to start over the next few days, like within this week at least. And I also knew that this rugby game was on. And I also know the repercussions of stress and like this side effects, I guess, or things that will happen within my menstrual cycle if there is a lot more stress happening. And I have been traveling a lot. So obviously that's been playing on, my jet lag and different time zones and just the traveling and being in the airplanes and things. That's already putting added stress onto my system and onto my body. So when this rugby game came up, it was literally probably the rugby game that was the biggest game. Like it was a quarterfinal between the All Blacks and Ireland. And Ireland has been deemed number one in the world for the last 3 years, apparently. And I was seriously so nervous. I can honestly say, and this might sound dramatic, but it's the truth. I can honestly say that I've never been more nervous for anything in my life. Anything. Never been more nervous. And I have actually been working a lot. So I was trying to have like a little nap. This was on the Saturday. I was trying to have a little nap in the midday because I knew that the game was late and blah, blah, blah. You don't need to know the context. But I made the mistake of, well, looking up all of these things to do with rugby and the stats and the scores and the predictions and things for the game. And I couldn't nap. I couldn't sleep. And then when it came later on to the night, because I worked all the way up until the rugby game, I was so avoidant. Like I couldn't go out there. I didn't even want to watch the game. I was freaking out so much. Can I just tell you that? And so obviously the rugby game happened, and you can only imagine what I was like throughout this rugby game. There was like forgetting to breathe. There was one point, and I've never said this or even understood people that say this until this point, but I actually said to Nate, I think I'm going to vomit because I felt physically sick, right? And if you understand and you know the game, you understand what I'm talking about. Anyway, so that game ended and we won. Thank the Lord that we did. We won. But the fact of this is that much stress on my body, straight away I knew that my period was either going to be delayed or not come, because with all the stress that I've been putting on my body, it was just probably not the same. It was not in alignment for my period to come, right? So it hasn't come. And this is like quite a few days later, and I'm waiting for it, and it feels like it's coming, and it's right there. My hormones really just get me, not in a bad way, but I turn so weird. It's like that hot and bothered mood. Like I turn just so weird. And if you have heard a episode, I think it was literally last episode or the episode before this, I did an episode with Georgia Zentrich where I admitted that the more that I learn to express myself, the weirder I am. And this is just one of those cases. So yes, there was the additive of hormones and like the pre-menstrual cycle happening, but this is even weird for me. So I've got a lot of work to do, and I know that I need to do this work and I want to do this work. But yesterday I even just tried to go to the gym to work out. And all I did, I said to myself, I know that my period's coming. How am I going to support myself in this time? I'm just going to walk on the treadmill at a steady pace for the entire time. So I did that the entire time. I felt horrible. Like I felt heat flushes. I felt all of these things. And I'm like, this is not good. I probably should have opted for yoga or nothing, to be honest with you. And then I came home and I just couldn't do anything. My brain was so gone. My brain was like dead. And my intuition told me that I need to lie on the bed. And you can fact check this with Nate. It was the weirdest thing. I need to lie on the bed with my baby Yoda blanket on top of me, listening to worship songs. And like, I don't know where that came from. Like, okay, I'm not religious and like, I don't choose to believe in God as the higher power. I choose to believe in the universe. Um, and if you know my Yoda blanket, it's not just a Yoda blanket, like it's literally a Yoda head, like a baby Yoda head with the blanket. And this is what I looked like. I wish I had a photo of it, but I was doing this for quite some time. And look, I found it to be normal because this is what I needed. And Nate looked over at me and he's just like, what the heck is going on? And I'd already listened to like quite a few songs and I'm like, look, I just need to do this. I don't know what I'm doing. And I'm just laughing at the stage. Like, what am I doing? I have a baby Yoda blanket on my head or on top of me, and I'm listening to worship songs. But it's what I needed in that time. And it felt so healing. And at the end of it, like we laughed about it and things, but I'm just like, Nate has seen me through all of the weirdness, especially when it comes to before my period, like especially if it's like the day before my period. And I'm just so like, he'll just go to hug me and he just knows that that's all I need. And we'll just hug for like a solid 20 seconds and then I'm away again. And whatever happens, happens. But that was what happened yesterday. And so that is why I did not record this podcast episode yesterday. So that is the update. So let's get on to the purpose of this episode, and that is talking about core values. So, core values are something that I preach, that I love, that I talk about all the time, that I talk with my clients about, that I have been talking more about in my circles in the last week. So it makes sense for me to come on here and talk to you about it in the podcast. So I really just want you to understand why I truly believe core values are so important. And my belief is that if you live by your core values every single day, you will live a fulfilled life. If that is all you do, if you live by your core values alone, you will still live a fulfilled life. And it's something that's just going to help you on your day-to-day basis feel good, raise your vibration, get your mood up there. Core values are super, super incredible. So the first step that you need to take, and the step where people usually don't take because they think that if they set core values, like 3 or 4 core values, it means that they don't value all of the other values on the value list. And I'm going to use my values as an example. So my core values that I have chosen for this season of my life, which happens to just be the last like 2 years. So you can change your values as you want, right? As your core values. But so my core values are connection, experience, learning, and freedom. So those are my 4 core values. Now, that does not mean to say I don't value trust, honesty, integrity, family. I don't not value those things. I truly do value those things, but they're not part of my core values at this season of my life, right? So what you need to do is, if you don't know what your core values even are or what any values even are, just look up online a values list, like a core values list, and you'll get an entire list. Then you can narrow it down. If you want to have conversations with people, like jump into my DMs. I'm so open to talking to you and helping you figure out what your core values are just through conversations of narrowing down all of the values, right? And we want it to align with this season of your life. So once you have narrowed down your core values, what you want to do is figure out the small little tasks and things that you can do on your day-to-day basis that align with those core values, right? So I'm going to give you an example. For connection, right? Because connection is one of my core values. When I can try and find the smallest of things to do to just like tick that off the list, not that that's the mentality we want to have. We don't want to ever have like a just tick it off the list type thing, but that is what the language that I will use for this example. So for connection, seeing as connection is my core value, that means I want to live by that every single day, right? What are some types of connection that will make me feel fulfilled, right? Whether it be for me, because this is my meaning of connection, self-connection, or connection with others, right? And by the nature of my job, I tend to have conversations, whether it be with clients, podcast guests, like my coach, all of these things. I tend to have conversations every day anyway. So that is already a form of connection, right? But another form of connection for me could be going and meditating, right? Self-connection, doing some journaling, working out. That is connecting with myself and my body, right? So already I am doing something that I'm doing in my day. Once I acknowledge that, I can tick that off the list, right? I have done that. But you don't realize you are in autopilot mode until you acknowledge it, right? Let's go to the next one. Let's go to freedom, right? And these could, all align together, or these you could double up on some of the values, if that makes sense. So when it comes to freedom, freedom could also be a meditation for me. That could be me meditating and visualizing my life in exactly how I want it to go and what I want it to be like, and my life's vision, right? That is a sense of freedom, because that is the way that I want to live. And freedom for me is like the choice, right? So if I get to choose to live that way, then I am visualizing myself living that way, then that is a sense of freedom for me, right? So that could be me doing a meditation, a visualization, and that is me ticking freedom off the list. Freedom could also be me, and by the nature of my job again, just choosing the way that my day goes, right? Because I work for myself, I can choose when I want to do things, at what time, what days. That is already a sense of freedom for me. So I already do it, right? I don't have to do anything extra, but I just have to acknowledge it every single day. Cool. Yeah, I fulfilled that box. Like I ticked off the box of freedom, living freedom. So now I've got connection. Now I've got freedom, learning, right? I love learning. It's a core value of mine, clearly. And so what that looks like is it could look as small as asking someone a question and getting their opinion on it. It could be going to my coach and having a conversation with them, something that I'm interested in. It could be me going on YouTube and learning something on YouTube. It could be me Googling something. It could be me having a conversation and learning something about them, right? About someone's story, learning anything. You're learning new. You've learned something about their story. It could be me asking a question to Nate about space, and he could tell me because he knows a lot about that. Very random example. But that is the smallest things that you can do for learning as my core value that I do. So by acknowledging it, I feel fulfilled. I'm like, yes, now I've ticked off freedom. Now I've ticked off learning. Now I've ticked off connection. What is the last one? And so when we come to the last one, being experience, this kind of just comes with the nature of my life. Like it can be as big as experiencing a new country, which I tend to be doing a lot lately, or it can be something like going back to this again, because I feel like we can double up, like visualizing, having a meditation and visualizing your life. That is an experience. You get to experience your life. It could be something like going out on a date night and having going to a very different restaurant that you would usually go to. It could be going to like a paint and sip, whatever. It could be crockery. It could be you going out to brunch with your friends and just making it a whole thing, like really enjoying it, really having good conversations, really being in the moment and present. That is an experience, right? So those are things that I do in my day-to-day anyway. So I'm already living by my core values. And look, I've aligned my life to already live by my core values because that is what makes me feel fulfilled. Once I acknowledge this, whether it be at the end of the day or as I'm doing it, I'm like, yeah, I'm doing this because these are the things that feel important to me, right? And they do not take long. So once you figure out what your core values are, you can start to think about different things that you can do during your day that will actually be living by your core values, right? And you will probably notice that you're already doing so many things that actually relate to those core values, but you just need to acknowledge it. You just need to tick it off the list. We just need to take ourselves out of autopilot mode and acknowledge it. Because once we acknowledge it, we feel a sense of achievement, and that brings a sense of fulfillment. Are you with me? Like, do you understand what I'm saying? This is why I believe core values are so important, because if we live by them, we are living a life that we are choosing to live based on what we value in life, right? And you've still got the rest of the day ahead of you. You can still do so many other things. It's not like it's taking time out of your day. Can you hear my tummy? It's rumbling because I'm very hungry. But getting back to the point, it's not taking extra time out of your day, really, right? You're not spending 5 hours trying to, fulfill your core values, because you just wouldn't do it. But once you actually start to do it, you realize you've still got your entire day. You can still do other things in your daytime, but you have actually lived by your core values today, so you will feel fulfilled, right? That is kind of all I have about core values. If you want help understanding what your core values are versus your values in life, please send me a DM. Come into the free podcast community that we have. I would love for us to just create a conversation around what your core values are, and how you are living by them. So if you want to come into the free Facebook group, please, there will be a link in the show notes below for you to do that. And you can just be a part of it. You can just be a part of all of it. And also the perk of that is that they get to watch these videos. Anyone inside that group get to watch these videos should they choose to, over just listening to it. So there's that option. And there's also a lot of fun other things going on in there. So get yourself over there. But as always, I am open. I love to have conversations, and especially when it's around core values. So please jump into my DMs as well, and we can figure out what your core values are. I am going to leave it at that. I hope you found a lot of value in this. I hope you enjoyed my update. If not, I hope you skipped it and just didn't worry about it. That is also okay. And I will see you on the next podcast episode.